I am going to call to order the Dover School Committee meeting on June 9th at 5 o'clock, held remotely via Zoom conference call. For those of you that have been on the call the last few months, I'm going to just read a couple of housekeeping things and then we'll be on our way. Good evening. This open meeting for the Dover School Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public meeting gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. For this meeting, the Dover School Committee is being convened via Zoom as posted on the Dover School websites and any other public places. Please note this meeting is being recorded and that some of the attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware, and this is a good little reminder for everybody, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and that take care not to share your screen on your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. During community comments, there is an opportunity for members of the community to be heard. We respectfully request that you please make your comment brief, just a couple minutes, that you move the discussion forward by adding new information. Please try to avoid repeating points that have already been made. Community comments are an opportunity for us to listen to members of the community, and it's not for a forum of answering questions or engaging in debate. Once a public comment section of the meeting has been concluded, we'll move to other business, and unsolicited comments from the community will no longer be permitted. This is standard operating procedure in school committee meetings across our 3 districts. We invite everyone to stay on and listen to the rest of the meeting, but also understand that many of you may be unable to attend the rest of the call. We appreciate that you've taken the time to participate in this important process, and we encourage you to reach out to your school committee reps at any time with any further questions. We are now turning to the first agenda item, but before we do, permit me to cover some ground rules to make sure we have clear conduct for business. I'll introduce each agenda item. After the person presenting the items have finished, the chair, I will proceed with any questions for school committee members. If you have any questions, school committee members, just speak up or you can raise your hand via the technology. You guys know how to do all that. Please remember to mute your phone or your computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and announce your name in a way so that so everyone can understand you and the minutes can be captured properly. So anyways, when we vote, we'll take everybody from the school committee off of mute. We'll conduct a roll call. Remember to say your name first, then announce your vote, and then put yourself back on mute so there isn't a lot of background noise. So that's our paperwork to begin with. The first item on our agenda is our community comments. Do we have any community comments? If you do, you can take yourself off mute and speak up or raise your hand if you have anything you'd like to bring up. Don, I don't see any. Do you?
Nope, there's no hand raised, Zoom hand raises.
Okay, great. All right. With that, we're going to go to our annual PTO presentation at the end of the year. And there was a little miscommunication on the agenda. Actually, Ami, who's the current vice president, and Archana, the current treasurer, will be presenting some of the PTO information for us, which we're excited to see. So hopefully I can get technology to work, and me, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great, thank you.
1 second here. Share screen. All right, Ami, thumbs up if it works.
Yeah, I see it.
All right, great.
All right, so first of all, thank you so much, Andrew and Beth. I was on the call with the parents earlier today. We really appreciate all of your hard work grappling with really tough questions in this very confusing time. So thank you. We also appreciate your partnership with the PTO and giving us a moment to update you on our year. We had a very successful year pre-pandemic, and so I'll give you a brief update about our pre-COVID times and then what we've been doing since.
Just give me like a next slide and I'll go from there.
Yeah, so next slide.
All
Thanks,
right.
Henry.
See what happens. Just a second. There we go. Thank you.
Great. So besides providing a source of volunteers services to the school, our PTO is largely divided into support for teachers and staff, curriculum enrichment for students, and events to bring together our community. We accomplished a great deal between September and March. For teacher and staff support, we awarded $3,700 in teacher grants, funding requests like a bass clarinet for the band, inspirational posters throughout the hallways, flexible seating rocking stools for first grade classrooms, and Chickering Radio, which plays different genres of music in the lobby and cafeteria. We reimbursed teachers just over $6,000 for classroom supplies. And for appreciation events, we showed our appreciation in a number of ways, like providing snacks and meals while teachers were at school for extended hours for parent meetings. For curriculum enrichment, up until March, we held 23 curriculum enrichment programs. Our CE chairs, I want to share this, this story with you because I thought it was wonderful. Our CE chairs met with teachers at the end of last year to evaluate the programs and plan for this year. The fourth grade teachers suggested a new program that dealt with electric circuits. It was called SciTech. And after SciTech came to Chickering, it was such a hit that 11 of the students on their own started attending their SciTech programs in Natick. All the way up until the pandemic started. So it was just great to see how the CE programs really excited the kids and fostered their curiosity and learning beyond just the school program. For community events, we did a number of outreach. Our outreach program ran a number of drives, collecting food, collecting toys for birthday wishes, Halloween candy for the troops. And then our events were a huge success this year. We had 150 kids and parents at our bingo night in the fall. Over 300 people came to our international and cultural night where 26 families, it was awesome, yeah, 26 families hosted tables representing their countries, and so much to learn and explore for students and parents, lots of delicious food. It was really fun. We started a more robust program to welcome new families to Chickering, and I know that this was brought up on the call earlier today. We will continue to think about how we can make sure to welcome new families, especially when so much of the year might be remote. And we also had our first year participating in the Scripps National Spelling Bee program. I think this will become a tradition at Chickering if the COVID situation allows, so I'm really excited about that too. All right, so March through June. Unfortunately, there's a little bit less to say. We canceled 9 curriculum enrichment programs as well as the MFA field trip. The Make a Difference Club had a team joining the walk to support Family Promise Metro West, which was also canceled. And as you know, our auction was canceled. Archana will get into the financial implications of that in just a moment. We re-envisioned a number of programs. So instead of decorating classroom doors for Teacher Appreciation Week, Mr. Hart helped us create appreciation boards on Padlet. One of our curriculum enrichment programs with Mass Audubon shifted to a virtual one. So they created a video for our 3rd grade students. So that's something that we might look into more for next year if we need to go virtual. Our 5th grade team of parents are planning celebrations for next week for the graduating class. And the science fair still may happen this summer over Padlet. So for any kids who'd like to participate. And finally, as you know, we voted to contribute $5,000 to resurfacing the playground.
Thank you very much for that.
Yes. All right, next slide. we're cautiously optimistic about next year. And by that, I know that there's going to be a number of changes to what school will look like, but what we've decided so far is that we'll budget for all our normal events and curriculum enrichment, and we're hoping to have volunteers in place for all of it as well. And that way, we're ready to offer whatever the COVID situation allows. We've created a new volunteer position that we're calling Virtual Experience Advisor. And that person will help us reimagine in-person events that need to move online. And I know that the school districts are working on that as well. We don't have anyone in this position yet, so if you're interested or if you know anyone who's interested, this will be a really important position next year. We're also cautiously optimistic about fundraising, or I should say we're cautious about fundraising. Though our auction was canceled, we decided not to have our auction next year because there's a big chance that an auction won't be allowed to happen next year as well. And our check writing campaign usually brings in about half of what we net during an auction year. So that's one factor. We're also making a few changes that will result in a loss of revenue in other ways. The directory is going to move online, which is the right decision for a number of reasons, but we're going to forego some ad sales. Dover Days may or may not happen, but we won't plan to have our usual carnival type games, so that's going to, we usually bring about $4,000 from that as well. So we're going to almost entirely rely on our check writing campaign. Thankfully, we have our reserves to fall back on. We've kept these reserves for exactly a situation like this, though I always assumed that a blizzard would be canceling the auction and not a pandemic, but here we are. I can't emphasize enough how fortunate and how grateful we are for the generosity of parents over the past number of years to have these reserves and to be in a position where we don't need to think about canceling programs because of the finances. So for all the parents who are on here, thank you very much. All right, our treasurer, Archnell, will give us more details about the financials. So you can go to the next slide.
All right, so for the numbers, so for this year, we had budgeted for about 100,000 in income and 107,000 in expenses, which would have been a net operating income of minus 7,000 for the year. This was a conservative estimate. Normally, we exceed our income expectations and our expenses usually end up less than expected. For example, in the last auction year, we made 88,000 in income for the event, and this year we had only budgeted 70,000, so we were being conservative on that. And on the expense side, one of the reasons why we never max out on our expenses is because the $250 in discretionary funds that we lay aside for each specialist and teacher, we usually only use half of that money for that purpose. So, but we have it available. This year's realized budget was obviously very different from what we expected. Our total income, since no auction was held, was 56,000. The bulk of that was from auction donations and sponsorships and matching funds, all totaling about 35,000. The directory and excuse pad advertising and orders totaled 9,300, and Books from the Heart, which is a pass-through event. So we pretty much take in as much as we spend on the event, was 6,400. So our total expenses for the year were about 67,000, resulting in a net operating income of minus 11,000. Our current reserves as of the end of May are 123,000. And so because of that, we were able to cover all of our expenses for the year, all the expenses that we were able to have. On average, in the past, it has been our goal to maintain about 1 year worth of reserves. And on average, our expenses are between 80 and 100,000. It depends on, in auction years, we often have more expenses. Next year, next year we would need to raise about 60,000 to maintain about 1 year's worth of reserves. Next slide. So for next year's budget, we're trying to plan for a normal year. And if we're somehow able to have all the events that we would normally have, then at least we'll be prepared for it and we'll have the money for it. We don't know what it'll look like. So, but at least if we have it ready in our budget, we can spend it right away. We're expecting about 50,000 in income, which is mainly from our check writing campaign. And Ami mentioned this, but this will be our first year doing an online directory rather than a physical one. So we're using conservative estimates for income generated from advertising and orders, since this is new territory for us. Our total expected expenses are 84,000, 38,000 of which is curriculum enrichment. 23,000 is the classroom and teacher support, which over the last 3 years, on average, we've only spent about 2/3 of this. And 9,200 is for Chickering events. 6,000 of that is for the grade 5 graduation, which is mostly offset by the income generated for the event, which is the $40 per student fee, I think. And then 5,600 is for Chickering community outreach, which includes the MFA trip, which is another pass-through event, Metco, the outdoor classroom project, Make a Difference Club, etc. So, and then lastly, the last big item is 4,500 for Book from the Heart, which is another pass-through event. So, next slide.
So finally, I just want to end with this. In response to the pandemic and families' changing financial situations, the PTO decided in March to stop fundraising for our program. Instead, Mila Clark, a Chickering parent, and Kate Potter from Sherburne, the Emergency Funds Campaign. This fund raised over $43,000 to date, which has helped over 70 families in our community with grocery and pharmacy cards, and will hopefully continue to support those in need through the fall. It's just incredible. And this truly speaks to the generosity of our community and tees us up for next year's theme, which is We Rise by Lifting Others. So that's all we have for you today. Thanks so much, and welcome any questions or comments.
Hey, I love that theme. Awesome, thank you. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen and then I'll open it up to school committee and see if they have any questions. So let's make sure I do this properly. All right, did that work?
Yeah.
Do I have any questions from the school committee? Brooke, yes.
Right. So thank you so much. I'm shouting. I shouldn't shout. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, I was very impressed. I know this year has been so hard in so many ways, and the way that you guys, the word of the day, pivoted and you know, brought everything together was really commendable. I know it must have been really difficult to work through that. So thank you. And thank you for the playground donation as well. That's really exciting, and we could finally use the playground again. It was great that you made that happen, so really appreciate it. I had a question. I was just curious, a couple things. So you had most of the donations for the auction at the point that it was canceled, I'm assuming? And was there thought about kind of doing that virtually, or being able to use that as a kind of revenue generator in any way?
Well, so we had sponsorships from 4 different companies, and we had different families had underwritten about $11,000. Sponsorships are about $10,000, and then ticket sales. And so we asked families if they wanted their ticket sales to be turned into a donation. At that point, we weren't sure if school was going to come back, and we thought about postponing. And then when it got canceled for the rest of the year, there were just think there was just too much going on that we weren't able to pull an
Yeah.
event together at that point.
But for next year, if you still have the donations, I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility, just to kind of take some of the pressure off of the check writing campaign.
It's a good idea. We do have some of the raffle items. I don't know. I'll have to check with how many of the auction donations we have. Yeah, that's a great idea. We could see about auctioning those off virtually.
I know it must feel very uncertain. So anything.
Right. I know there are rules about not allowing raffles to happen online.
Gambling, some kind of gambling rule. Yeah, listen, I am just asking. I don't know the answer, and I just, curious. So yes, maybe there's a workaround or something. Believe me, I'm sure you've thought of everything and more. So I was just curious. And we're for the programs that couldn't run in the spring, how did they usually handle it? Did they reimburse you? Did they give you credit? I know everyone was in a tough spot, obviously, from our from their end as well, our authors and our programs.
Right. I cut out for a moment. I think I heard all of your questions there. All the CE programs were reimbursed.
They were, okay.
Yeah, the ones that didn't happen. Just the Mass Audubon one we got as a video instead at a much reduced cost.
Yeah, I was wondering. So for next year, and I think it is a brilliant idea to have this virtual, this person who's going to look into what the virtual options are, that, kudos, that's awesome. And, presumably a lot of people now will be able to pivot themselves and offer these programs online if that's needed. So, and maybe for reduced costs as well. So,
right.
We
started having those conversations with a few of the CE programs.
Yeah.
Some of them got back to us saying that they rely so heavily on student volunteers to participate, and it's very interactive that they didn't, at this point anyway, they couldn't imagine how to do a virtual one.
Yeah.
But if this remote learning is going to be extended as far as it will be, then
Right.
I hope that they create those programs.
Yeah, it's in their interest as well, right? So,
right.
Exactly. Well, thank you. That's all I had, but thank you so much for all your work and that great presentation. I'm going to go back to you.
One other thing is that we have our end of year open PTO meeting on Thursday at 7 o'clock, and that got emailed out to all the parents today. And we'll be voting in the new board and the budget for next year. So if any of the parents want to join us and have comments and questions there, we'd love for them to join, and teachers as well.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Anything else from school committee?
Just a really brief item. Brooke, you mentioned a lot of the things on my mind. I appreciate that. And Ami, you mentioned my favorite night, which is International Night. But I want to say, I know that it's a challenge to have community events at these times, but those are some of the most important events for this school. And so, if there's any way we can brainstorm on how to still hold some community events where we get to know one another. Even the science fair, when you walk around the tables in the cafeteria, it's going to feel different virtual, but I like that you're still aiming for it. So anyway, I appreciate that the work PTO has done on those fronts.
Yeah, Laura actually gave us a great suggestion too of perhaps having breakout rooms next year for our International Night where families can still visit all the different countries.
Nice.
So we're gonna aim to have something.
That's a great idea.
Thanks so much.
A vaccine would be the best solution of them all, but we're not here to talk about science. Okay, so not seeing any other comments or hands raised. We are going to move on to the administration reports with Miss Dial.
Hey, thank you so much. And I want to echo what people were saying before, that this is an incredibly generous and thoughtful community. And I'm so appreciative of everything that people contribute, of their time and thinking as well as funding. And the collaboration and the leadership has just been wonderful to work with. So thank you. I will just briefly go through my report. we have made many strides, and as a community, I feel like we have focused a lot on the whole child, which I think is really important, especially in today's society. And that will continue through the events that we have planned over the years, and the people who are so highly involved in the school. And I think that's wonderful. With professional development, we have the cultural responsiveness planned for the summer right after school is out. And I'm pleased to share that just today we filled our last opening in cultural responsiveness training. So I'm thrilled that we will have 15 more educators trained in partnership with Pine Hill. So that's going to put the whole district in really good stead. Summer PD will be shaped by the district, and we'll be learning more about that in the coming weeks. The professional growth and evaluation system is partly on hold from state guidance. So that's in fine shape. School improvement plan, we shared a teaser last time we met. And as of tonight, we've also shared out the full plan. And our new goal is around remote learning and looking at both our structures and then approach to instruction. And this is something we talk about every single week with all of our grade level teams. And it's really exciting seeing how that's evolving. And of course, much more work will be done on that over the summer. And we're continuing our goals around multi-tiered systems and RTI, focusing again on ELA, on literacy, and extending that out, especially into reading. And we are continuing our work on Portrait of a Graduate and innovation, and thinking about how our elementary school fits into that. In curriculum and learning, we received really good feedback from the Lexia program that we piloted in many of the grades. So we're looking forward to bringing that in, and we're exploring some exciting new avenues in empowering writers, which is our writing and reading curriculum that we brought in 7 years ago. So that's exciting to see develop. Special events, we have a lot of things coming up, as we always do the end of the year, including a reverse parade on the 17th, next Wednesday, our last day of school, 5th grade graduation and things like that. So it'll be nice to feel once again that we're coming together as a community. In terms of staffing, I'm really pleased to share that Andrew McCorkle has been hired as our new adjustment counselor since Cynthia Shapiro is retiring. Andrew is known to us. He was with us as an intern when he was in school a number of years ago, and we're just thrilled to have him back. We shared an update on the family handbook proposed changes, and those are the main points of what's going on in school. So do you have any questions for us?
Thank you, Laura. School committee, anyone have any questions or comments for Laura? Yes, Leslie. You're on mute though.
Yep.
There you go.
Hi, Laura. Thank you for everything that you've done during this difficult time. From a parent perspective, my middle child has been using Lexia, and I wanted to state that I think it's an amazing program.
Oh, good to hear.
I have actually requested that my 3rd grader also be allowed it, so they are able to use it over the summer. I was kind of hoping that the school would get access so we could use it throughout the summer. Is that a possibility? Because I've heard that we're only able to use it through the end of July, I believe.
That was the period of the pilot, and we'll have to find out more from Priscilla Steffen, our literacy specialist, about where that stands now, since we are looking forward to continuing that. So I'm not sure the status of the actual subscription, but we were really excited about the impact and the feedback from that. The parents seem to be very positive about it.
Yeah.
So if I can,
will she let us know that if we could possibly, as parents, use it during the summer months, or?
Yeah.
So I'll jump in a little bit. The Lexia program, part of it was opened up due to the building closures around the country. And then we've been working with Beth McCoy and Pine Hill to have a subscription across both schools, hoping to find some financial savings. It's quite an expensive program. So we will be looking at how much we can extend it for the summer, and then hopefully we'll be able to just buy the program and start up as soon as possible. Thanks, it's good feedback. Appreciate it.
Yes, Brooke. I'm sorry,
Hi.
Leslie. Leslie, I assume you were done. Thumbs up
Sorry.
if you were done. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Brooke.
Just quick, thank you so much, Laura. Again, a very comprehensive and robust report, so thank you. I was on the Zoom today, and I do want to thank the parents that are on that participated in the Zoom. It's always fantastic to hear the questions and see what's on people's minds. And one thing that came up, now I think we're in this period of transition, and you've done so well pivoting with the 5th grade transition. But the next one that's really profound is the incoming kindergartners. So would you mind sharing how that might work, in the short term, just to kind of alleviate some of that anxiety? I mean, that's
Yes.
a big one.
With the incoming kindergartners?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because right before the physical school closed down, we were planning to have a kindergarten orientation on March 19th.
Yeah.
And we canceled that. And then, a few weeks in, we said, gosh, we're doing Zoom and Google Meet sessions all the time. Of course we'll have orientation. So actually tomorrow night we'll be having a virtual kindergarten orientation. And the purpose of that is build connections with our incoming families, hopefully get them excited about the year coming up, hopefully put them at ease a little bit. And even though we have a number of unknowns about what school will look like, we know kids really well, we know their needs really well, and we've been very adaptable. And so we look forward to having that, and also sharing out some resources that we have. And then one of our staff members had the wonderful idea of making recordings of each classroom teacher, kindergarten classroom teacher, and all the specialists that they would encounter, and sending out periodic videos the week leading up, I think it's about the week leading up to school, so that those students, whether they're coming on site or if we start remotely, they'll be familiar with the people, they'll see them without a mask over their face, and just start building that rapport. And when that was shared out, people were so enthusiastic about that because they really want to create those strong connections that are essential for our kids coming in for the first time. So I hope those will go a long way, both the orientation for parents and the introduction to students, to helping them know that they're welcome, that we're excited to have them joining school, and that we'll do whatever they need to help them adapt to school.
That's great. And I think, as these Zooms tend to happen, more suggestions and needs come out of them. So after tomorrow night, you probably have some more ideas, things that the parents think will be helpful. Are the kids going to be on the Zoom as well, or just the parents?
Well, it's interesting. We've always had it for parents, and so we've invited parents, but knowing our Zoom sessions, that we will see students as well. We should open it up a bit.
Good. Well, thank you.
Hard to keep the little ones away.
Thought. And of course, we're always open to others. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think Laura just froze for a quick second.
Thank you. And I want to thank school committee for the incredible support that you all provide to administration and the teachers and the whole community. It's just phenomenal, and I hope you realize that it's a really, really special thing, and it allows us to do so much and to try new things out and to grow. And really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. It's been an incredible partnership. Thanks.
Thank you, Laura. And anyone else? Yes, Leslie.
Hi, I just had one other question.
Sure.
Will we have the opportunity to meet Andrew McCorkle at all via Zoom? Because I know that I'm sure many parents would like to have access to him and be introduced to him. Is there an opportunity, or one of the school committee meetings where we'll have the chance to meet him?
That's a very nice idea. Yeah, I will leave that in Deb's hands.
Yeah, good idea. Well, Laura, thanks goes both ways. So I just want to quickly take a moment to thank you from the Dover School Committee for your last 7 years of service as principal at Chickering. Your dedication, your commitment to our community will be example for years to come. And you mentioned it actually in your principal's reflections, but you've left our school in a better place than we were 7 years ago. And that is the mark that we could only hope for. So thank you so much. We also want to thank you for your ability to communicate with our educators. Many of them are on the call right now. Our staff, our parents, who are also on the call. Wanted to thank you for bringing cultural inclusion and acceptance to our community. I mean, it's no more paramount than appropriate or apparent than right now. Thank you for helping the school committee, all of us, understand and appreciate how Chickering operates, where we can support the school's greatest needs, and how we can assist you and your team with innovation and fostering creative learning. We wish you the best of luck with your new adventures, and the influence that you've had on our community and the impact you've had on our community will never be forgotten. We'd like to actually give you this today. Hopefully everyone can see it. I'm sure it'll look familiar for all of us who have spent time at Chickering.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
We'll make it. This isn't a virtual gift. This is a physical real gift. We'll make it to you. But we thought that that a glass picture of the Chickering School Grows a Garden of Readers, the mural on the wall, was extremely appropriate. Whenever I walk into Chickering, or many times I walk into Chickering, you're out there standing by that mural, welcoming the students, welcoming the community. You've been doing that for the last 7 years. So we felt this was the best way to really say thank you. And honestly, thank you very much.
Oh, I'm deeply touched. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the beautiful flowers today.
You're welcome.
Absolutely lovely.
Good to know that those arrived. I too, Henry, want to tag on to what you just said and thank Laura for her efforts leading Chickering School. It's not an easy job. I was a principal for 11 years. There are many, many, many demands put upon a principal, and it's really difficult to balance all of those. And she's done a great job with that, and she's been a really important contributor to our team. So we wish you well, Laura, and thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
I just wrote a little something. Do you mind if I chime in?
This is the best time to do it, Brooke.
Okay. And we put that on glass, Laura, because I think with the colors of the mural, I want to see how I think it will look beautiful when the light comes through it. So let us know.
Oh, sounds great.
But I wanted to I just wrote a little bit of something because I want to, 7 years is a long time working together. And so I just wanted to thank you for your support, for your care, and for your leadership these past 7 years. Your hard work and dedication to our students, staff, and families have helped Chickering to be the really special place that it is today. And I've so appreciated your championing the social and emotional wellness of our young students and all the supports and programs that you have put in place to support that. This is truly, I know from my heart, an area that speaks to your core beliefs. And I'm so grateful. And I know that wonderful things are ahead. I hope you keep in touch and let us know all the great things that you're achieving. So
thank you so much. Well, it's an incredible team effort. It's everyone working really beautifully together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mark.
Can I add a quick thing? Speaking as a parent and a teacher and an administrator and a school committee member, my favorite day of the year was January 21st, when you allowed us to come into Chickering for a day to basically look under the carpets and like see a day in the life, and to firsthand experience the organized joy that was immersed throughout that building, and the learning and the fun and the strategies you had for supporting all students. I am and continue to be blown away by the school system, but that was a living reminder of everything you do and all the work that goes into it. So thank you.
I'm so glad we could share that. Yeah, that happens all the time. It's incredible educators that we have.
Yeah, we went just about everywhere that day, so it was great.
I know, it wasn't made up. It wasn't like they put it on a show or anything.
Real. Thank you. I'm glad we could have that time together.
Wonderful. With that, we'll move on to the finance side part of our agenda with our warrant report from Dawn.
So you have in your packet the warrants that have been approved to date. It's short because we last met on May 18th. So if you have any questions, I thank Henry for coming in and signing his last set of warrants with us. He paid us a visit here. So I appreciate that. And we're hoping to get back into town hall and start signing again. So hopefully that works for you, Leslie. And that's it on the warrant report.
All right. Any quick comments on that? Great. We'll move on to the financial report.
So I don't have a lot of new information for you. We've, since again, we just met on May 18th. So we're continuing to refine some of the estimates that we're holding for encumbrances. As you know, Chickering or Dover, Chickering has had a very positive year in that we're seeing salary expenses from post-budget staffing changes. We did have a lot of changes post-budget that are resulting in over $100,000 of savings. And then with school closing, you're saving additional salaries for custodial, overtime, and also substitutes. On the expenditure side, we have continued to tweak the numbers, and the two big drivers that you have for your almost $100,000 of savings on the expenditure side is the transportation. As you know, we negotiate a reduced per diem for the bus contract and utilities. So those two together are 80,000 of your 100,000, and the rest of them are just various differences. There's nothing material, they're just ins and outs. Out of district, it's maintained a steady census, so those numbers are staying the same. You do have a little bit of a reduction for a couple of parent reimbursements since school did not go the whole year, but all in all, you're still looking to give back to the town. $1,272,000 is the estimate I have for you today. That's up a little bit from $1,243,000 that we presented to you in May. Any questions on
Any
that?
questions?
Sorry. Don, has there been a decision about the out-of-district tuition payment?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we're going to pay the majority of our out-of-district schools and hold back on some of the residential programs that aren't running. I think that's our game plan for right now. As we approach the end of June, it gets a little messy with the year end of holding a lot of unpaid bills. And so I think that we felt comfortable paying the majority of the other collaboratives that we're not members of, the other public schools that we send students to, and some of the other schools that we know have had a rich learning plan and that our students are receiving as remote learning as, you know, is to the standards that we're expecting. So I see a good chunk of those probably will be coming through the next couple of warrants.
And we don't know what's going to happen with those programs in September, right?
No, they run under the same directions that we will. Stay with private schools. All the schools are going to be given the same guidance.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you also have included in your packet your current enrollment as of June 1st, but also the projections. And all the projections thus far are all within the ranges that we built the budget on. So if you go back and look at the little chart that I do for you, you'll notice that all the projections in here fall within the ranges that we built your budget on. So, so far, there's no unexpected changes in our enrollment to date.
So we're still looking about, from last year to this year, a reduction of about 20 students. And it looks like kindergarten is the primary driver in that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask if 58 is as of today that have committed.
59.
Oh, there we go. Hot off the
Asking
press.
tomorrow.
Deb picked up one more.
Yep.
And
Deb's
how
up.
much? Yeah, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
How many typically would we expect to pick up over the summer?
I don't think you can say this summer is going to be typical. Kindergartners, I feel like I think those are. I feel like we pin that number down. I think it's the other grades that sometimes we see fluctuation, but I really think that it'll be interesting to see how our projection models work under this scenario and what impact it will have on our future projection models.
I mean, we know kindergarten, sometimes parents like to hold back a year, so it'll be interesting to see what happens this year.
Exactly.
And you have to remember that just as people come in, people go.
Mhm.
And that's why it usually washes out.
Yeah. Well, I know you've been good about keeping us abreast in the past about move-ins over the summer. So.
Oh yeah, that'll be something we'll constantly be watching, especially this summer with the plans for the reopening.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on either the financial report or enrollment for Don and team?
I'll let this group know if you haven't heard, but the town of Dover is scheduled to have their town meeting on June 29th here on campus. It is going to be limited to who attends, I think, from a Board of Health directive. So, but at least you'll be, your budget will be approved, and we don't have to worry about operating on the 1/12 budget for Dover Public Schools.
And here on campus is actually up at the Region
Oh,
complex,
at the Region,
not,
yes.
not at Chickering.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sitting here on campus, so here's the Region campus.
All right. We have a couple items that we need to vote on. The first of which is the student operating opportunity plan. Ms. McCoy, I believe you are on that. Do you have anything you want to share before because we saw it last meeting, but if there's anything you want to share?
No, so it's just a slight increase in our Chapter 70 money to address disparities and achievement gaps, and there were 9 ways we could spend the money, and so I'm proposing, based on all of the planning that this committee did with Dawn, that we put that money towards our elementary coordinator and her work around data collection and in supporting the RTI work for all of our kiddos.
Any questions for Beth? Okay, with that, I would like to take a motion to approve the Student Opportunity Action Plan as presented in the packet. Do I have a motion? Name and off mute.
Rachel Spellman, so moved.
Second? Do I have a second? Leslie Leon.
Leslie Leon, second.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Leslie. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call. Remember your name and then your vote. We'll start with Leslie.
Leslie Leon, yes.
Mark Healy,
Mark.
yes. Oh, sure. Mark Healy, yes.
Got it. Brooke.
Brooke Matarese, yes.
Rachel.
Rachel Spellman, yes.
And Henry Spalding, yes. All right, unanimous. Next item is the family handbook changes. That was presented last meeting as well for our first read. I don't know if Laura or Debbie have anything you want to add before we move the motion. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Any questions for Laura or Deb? All right. Please take yourself off mute. Do I have a motion to accept the student handbook as presented, changes to the student handbook as presented in our packet?
Mark Healy, so moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Leslie Leon, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. Vote by roll call. Leslie.
Leslie Leon, yes.
Mark.
Mark Healy, yes.
Brooke.
Brooke Matarese, yes.
Rachel.
Rachel Spellman, yes.
And Henry Spalding, yes. Thank you. And another item is our school improvement plan that we did our first read last meeting. Ms. Dial touched on it in her principal reflections. Do we have any questions for Laura on the school improvement plan? Okay, hearing none, I would like to take a motion to accept the school improvement plan as presented in our packet. Do I have a motion?
Leslie
Thank you.
Leon? Leslie Leon, I move the motion.
Do I have a second?
Rachel Spellman, second.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Rachel. Any discussion? Okay, roll call for vote. Leslie,
Leslie Leon, yes.
Mark,
Mark Healy, yes.
Brooke,
Brooke Matarese, yes.
Rachel,
Rachel Spellman, yes.
and Henry Spalding is also a yes. Our last item to move is our consent agenda. You have it in your packet. It's the, double check here quickly as I scroll up and down through this packet. The school committee minutes from our May 18th meeting, and then also a donation. Bear with me a
On the
second.
PTO.
PTO
From the
playground.
PTO. Yes, thank you. Is there any questions on consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as a, with including the donation of $5,000 from the PTO for the playground as included in our packet. Do I have a motion?
Rachel Spellman, so moved.
Thank you. Second?
Leslie Leon, second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I just want to say thank you once again for the donation.
Yes.
Okay, and roll call for vote. Leslie,
Leslie Leon, yes.
Mark,
Mark Healy, yes.
Brooke,
Brooke Matarese, yes.
Rachel,
Rachel Spellman, yes.
and Henry Spalding is a yes. Okay, let me see here. We have communications that's available in the packet for everybody. It's which is always my favorite report, to see where the class of 2020 is, what they're gonna do next year. It's pretty interesting to read and take a look at, as well as the minutes from the Regional School Committee meeting on April 28th. Quickly, before we close, I just wanna say thank you to all of our educators for this year. This year has been challenging and different. You can watch any advertising for a car or an insurance company. They always say the same thing, but it truly has been a very unique year. So, you know, to our educators, to our staff, our admin, thank you. Thank you many times over. Enjoy this summer. It's going to be a welcome summer, and I'm sure there'll be some planning and some adjustments and a lot of discussion throughout the summer for what next year may or may not look like. But, you know, from the school committee and from myself, you guys are awesome. You always have been awesome. So thank you very much.
Henry,
Yes.
before we let you go, or before we let anyone go, I want to just remind all these people while they're here that this is the last Dover meeting for both Henry and Rachel. And I just want you both to know from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate your contributions to the town of Dover and to the school department, and really to me personally, because I couldn't possibly do my job without supportive school committee members. And most people know that Henry and I go way back. He was one of my students when I student taught at Dover Sherburne back in 1988. He was a great guy then, and he still is now. Henry, I'm truly, truly thankful for everything. You've been awesome. I'm so proud of you as a human being and very appreciative. Rachel has been one of the most positive people in all of my educational experience. Always, always positive, no matter what's going on. And things aren't always positive in school committee meetings, but Rachel always had a positive smile on her face and kind words to say. So I want to thank you both and wish you both well. I know we'll probably have something a little more formal at the joint meeting on Thursday, but I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Andrew.
I wanted to say a word or two. Is that okay?
Yes, because I would love to hear what you have to say.
So I prepared, I mean, I wish I could buy you a beer, but I guess I can't do that yet. So we'll have to wait. But I do want to thank you, Henry, for your calm and measured leadership over these past years. You've taken us through some profound changes, from new leadership to 2 rounds of negotiations, special ed reorg, the approval of the start times change. And you know, as a DS alum, your continued commitment to our town, and your many other volunteer roles, which don't go unnoticed, is so admirable. And you always have student wellness at the forefront of everything you do. So you've been a pleasure to work with the last 5 years. You will truly be missed. So I know it's been a lot of work, so I don't know how much you're going to miss us, but I do hope that you keep in touch, and we can go get that beer at some point in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. That's very kind.
And we have for you, each of you, it probably looks backwards, but our core value plaque, and then it's inscribed in the back with your name and your appreciation from us and your years of service. So we have one for Henry and for Rachel that we'll hopefully be able to deliver to you soon, or see you in person to be able to give it to you.
And thank you, Rachel. I'm sorry to see you go, but I know there's a lot of competing demands, and you're involved in so many things. It's a lot to balance. So I'm just glad that we got to spend these last few years together, and I really appreciated your insights and your commitments. So thank you. And I'm just glad that with your other volunteer hats, I know that we're going to be working together in the future in other capacities. So I look forward to it.
Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you so much.
Well, I actually do have one more thing to say. I couldn't leave without having some prepared notes, and I had to write them down so I wouldn't get emotional. But it was like 42 years ago, I actually walked into Chickering, and since then I've been a parent, a school committee member, and now a parent again. So the last 6 years have really, truly been a great experience and very rewarding. I want to thank Laura. I want to thank Deb for their leadership direction that they provided to our students, educators, staff, and parents. I'd also like to thank Dawn, who encouraged me to run for school committee while she was the chairperson. And then another thanks to Dawn, but also to Beth as well, for all you've done as a business manager and assistant superintendent over the last couple of years. You guys make a great team with Dr. Keogh. And then I couldn't help but pass up thanking Adrian Hill, who was the chairperson before me after Dawn. I'd like to thank him for his dedication, his thoughtfulness as we serve together. But as I look at our current school committee members, I want to thank all 4 of you guys, Leslie, Mark, Rachel, we can go off together into the sunset, and Brooke. This past year has been interesting to say the least, but I could not think of a better school committee and members to work with over this time. So thank you guys very much. During my time as school committee, we've had 2 superintendents, 1 interim, and by the way, Bill McAuliffe also gets a nice thank you. He did a fantastic job for 2 years as an interim superintendent, and I couldn't have enjoyed more working with him. Yes, Dr. Keogh, we met in 1988, but you know, since then you've become our superintendent for the past 3 years. And when we hired you, we were looking for innovation, inclusion, consistency, direction, leadership, and you've delivered on all of those. So I can't thank you more for helping us during my tenure as school committee member. I just want to add one more message to our district and our community. I've had the pleasure of following some excellent school committee members who have served before me. I was very fortunate during my 6 years to serve with the best school committee members I could have ever imagined. And my message to all future members, welcome to the Dover School Committee. The work isn't always easy, but it's always rewarding. As school committee members, you bring your experiences, ideas, opinions, and an open mind, but leave behind your personal agendas. Our community is supportive, and our educators and leadership are second to none. Remember, we are DS. Thank you. And with that, unless anyone wants me to stop talking, we are adjourned.